Let's see. Okay, my name is Nancy McCaffrey. I am interviewing Martin F. White for the Library of Congress Veterans History Project. This is November 9th, 2018, and we are at Emma Clark Library in Setauket. So how are you?
Fine.
Okay. Can you just tell me what, when, and where you were born?
I was born in Brooklyn, January 1st, 1931, in the Caledonian Hospital.
Okay.
I don't think it's there anymore.
No, probably not. Who were your parents and what were their occupations?
My father was passed away before I was born. My mother was a cleaning lady at Cumberland Hospital.
Oh, wow.
She worked in the doctors' quarters that were being trained to be doctors, keeping them, doing their housework.
Oh, that's a hard job, huh? Did you have any siblings?
Well, I did, but they were cousins. I was raised with three families in one house, and I was like one of the 7 children.
Wow.
So,
Okay. So all the families lived together in one house?
Yeah.
And,
well, this was Depression time.
right, yeah. And you shared everything, I
You're lucky you had a roof over your head.
Okay. Did any of them serve in the military?
Yes.
Okay.
My cousin Walter was in the Seabees. He's deceased. And my cousin's husband was in the Navy. And another cousin was in the Merchant Marine.
Okay. So what did you do before you entered the service?
I was an apprentice steam fitter
In the city?
in the city.
And which branch of military did you serve in?
I was in the medical, and I was an operating room technician.
And that was the Army?
Army, yes.
Okay. And I guess you were drafted?
Yes.
Okay.
Kicking and screaming.
Do you remember the date you were drafted?
No.
No. Okay.
Well, the significant part of it is they wanted me to report the day I come back from my honeymoon. I just getting married.
Oh.
So I appealed, and I said I have an apartment furnished. I have to find a place to put that. So they said, well, we'll take you after the holidays. So they did. Right after New Year's, I was drafted.
Okay. And what year was that?
1951.
So what happened when you went into training camp, and what was that like, the early days of training?
Well, I had no problem with it. It was really amazing. The guys that couldn't handle being away from Mama, I guess, I don't know. But I enjoyed it.
You enjoyed training?
Yeah.
Basic training?
Yeah, there was nothing difficult. Of course, you meet all kinds of people, and you look at some of them and you say they're never going to make it through basic training, and a lot of them didn't. They get out.
They sent them back. I guess you must have been in pretty good shape then to do all the running and all that.
Yeah, well, I was. I always tried to be in. I'm not in great shape right now, but I tried to be active.
Okay. And do you recall any of your instructors and what they were like?
I can just remember the field first sergeant. He had a mouth you could hear him everywhere, and he was well built. And our company was made up of rebels and New Yorkers, and
You mean Southern
Southerners, and that was an experience.
What was that like? What was?
Well, some of them were kind of not with it, as far as I was concerned. Others were fine, and we blended well together. I had a terrible experience that maybe I shouldn't even talk about it. I was the assistant squad leader in my squad, and a black man was the squad leader. Very nice guy from Jersey, and we used to have to get a haircut every Friday. So we're in the barracks, and he says, "Come on, Moni, let's go get a haircut." I said, "Okay." So we walked to the barber shop. There's a long line, all black men, and the two of us are standing, on the back of the line talking. Barber comes out and he's going like this. And I said, I'm waiting for a haircut. He says, come on. He says, that's what they do. And my buddy said, Marty, go. There'll be trouble if you don't go. So I walked into the barber shop, got in a chair, and there was one black barber and two white barbers, I think. The white barber brought in a black guy, and the guy said, I want you to do this and that. And he said, I can't cut this kinky stuff, and he just, you know.
Oh, wow.
And I'm saying to myself, God almighty, what a disgrace. I felt ashamed. That was my bad story.
So where were you then? What?
I was in Camp Pickett, Virginia. Blackstone, Virginia.
Okay, so it was very segregated and...
It wasn't segregated, but these were non-service personnel. They were working as a barber. I don't think they were in this service. They hired out, I guess, to do their trade.
So when you were on base, was that segregated at all? No. Okay. So once you finished basic training, you went into some kind of specialized training?
Yes, depending upon where you scored in your basic training, they had schools you could pick. What do you want to go to? And all my buddies are saying, operating room technician. I says, what are you, crazy? They don't need operating room technicians in Germany. I said, all right, operating room technician. And of course, I wound up in Korea.
Right.
And I don't know if the others did or not.
So why did they want that?
I don't know.
Oh, you don't know?
I don't know.
You just went along with it?
And it was just stupidity. If they had said garbage man, I would have said garbage man.
So you actually got your first pick then?
Yeah.
Which doesn't usually happen, correct?
When we got to, we were in, I forgot where we were for the induction, but they sent me to Camp Pickett. It's a medical school, or medical basic. And I said, I'm a steam fitter. He says, we're just doing this to get you out of here. When you get down to Virginia, they'll put you with the engineers. I said, okay, fine.
Oh. Okay.
So we get down to Virginia, and this field first sergeant gets out there. He says, anybody want to get out of this? There's only two ways out. You speak Russian or Chinese. I said, well, there I go.
Oh, to get out of the operating room.
To go to other than a medical school.
Oh, okay. So you really didn't have a choice.
No.
So what was the training like, the specialized training?
Well, I didn't get that until I went to Texas, but the beginning of it was medical basic. And you learn the jobs of an aid man, who was the guy that went out with a syringe, and everybody else had a gun.
Oh, okay.
And then wherever you scored, however they kept your score, they'd say, all right, like this is 150, and from here down you can choose. There was X-ray technician, all sorts of things. But I don't know why. I don't think I was influenced. I was probably influenced by my buddies. I said operating room technician.
And that's what they gave you.
Yeah, and I'm very glad I did, because I felt like I did a good job. I didn't kill anybody.
Yeah, you were helping people.
Yeah.
So then, when you got your training for that, you went to Texas then?
Yes, Fort Sam Houston.
And how long were you there for training?
I think it was 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
6 or 8 weeks. I don't remember.
And then once you did that, they shipped you out to?
Yes, went to Korea.
Okay. So you served in Korea, and how long were you there?
About 1.5 years, I think it was.
Okay. And what are some of your memories of being in Korea?
Oh God.
I mean, were you ever attacked or?
We were bombed 3 times, and I couldn't understand what they bombed a hospital for. When they lost, the first time it was very cold, and I suppose the complex we were in was formerly a school, but I don't know. It was turned into a hospital anyway, and we were in one of the outer buildings. They had movies. Mm-hmm. And I'm in the movie wrapped up in a blanket freezing. watching The Greatest Show on Earth, Dan Daly.
I can't believe you remember that.
I can't
believe you remember that.
I can't remember the female star. But anyway, it was the climax of the movie, the train wreck, and Holden, and the projector goes down, it comes up again, and then it goes down, and the door opens, and the guy sticks his head, and he says, "Harry!" Oh my God! So my job was to go to the operating room. Everybody else in the hospital was diving into the foxholes.
Oh, wow.
I'm going up each flight of stairs. I couldn't run. But when you get in the operating room and the electricity was gone, they're rolling out battery lights, and there's these poor guys being operated on. You forget about your own stuff. You just get in there and work.
Now, the guys being operated on, they were from your camp, or they
were
people,
soldiers that came from wherever.
They flew them in, and
they would helicopter them in or come in on a train.
Okay, did they have any casualties during that air raid?
No, not from the air raid. They never hit anything worthwhile.
Oh, okay. So was that the only time you had an air raid, or?
We had 3 air raids. I slept through one of them.
How could you do that?
I'm a heavy sleeper.
And the other one was the same. You were running to the.
Nobody got hurt. I don't know what kind of planes they were in. I know somebody said they were just throwing out mortar rounds, and they didn't have the sophisticated equipment that we had.
Right.
But it was good. It was good. The doctors were all fine, and they were nice to work with. You worked as first assistant, because they didn't have enough surgeons to put 2 of them on a case. So you would go, you'd hold retractors, you'd clamp bleeders, and suture a little bit, depending upon who you were working with. They got to feel you out. So that was a good experience.
Yeah, it must have been interesting.
A funny experience we had there was we had Major Sammy Lee, who was an Olympic diving champion of Korean ancestry, but he was I don't know if he was born in America or not, but he was in our hospital, and he was an ENT surgeon. He did tonsillectomies, and he was short like I am. He'd stand on a milk box on these field tables. They weren't, real operating room tables. And the trick in doing a tonsillectomy is you have to free up the tonsil. You make it like a ball, and you slip a snare over it, and then you squeeze, and this wire comes in and cuts it out. Well, he'd be standing on a milk box, the guy in the sitting position in the chair with his mouth forced open, and he'd be cursing and swearing like a trooper. Trying to free up the tonsil and get the snare over it. And these poor guys laying there.
He didn't have any anesthetic or anything?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. But he was awake, it seemed?
They were awake. They were given his local anesthesia.
Oh.
But we had funny times watching him. And then there was an engineer battalion somewhere nearby us that needed sheets. And somehow or other, we traded sheets. They built us a swimming pool. Shouldn't say that.
How did they build a swimming pool?
Well, poured concrete with a diving board.
Really?
And this was for Sammy Lee. And then he put on an exhibition in Seoul. They had high platform diving. They rounded up American soldiers that were divers and put on one day for the Koreans and one day for the GIs.
Wow. Okay.
Which was very nice.
Did you have a lot of friendships there when you were in the Army?
Yes.
Did you keep up with any of them afterwards?
No, not really.
So who were some of the people you were friendly with?
Well, technicians like myself. There was one nurse that I was friendly with from Long Island, but we never connected after that. After being over there. And most of the fellows were from the New York area. When I went over.
Huh. Okay. So how did you stay in touch with your family back home?
I wrote to my wife every day.
Every day?
Every day. And my buddy next to me, John A. Williams III, he used to fight with his wife. She never writes. He said, "You get a letter every day," and I said, "I write one every day."
Wow. That's something.
That was funny.
She sent you packages, I guess. And
Yeah.
yeah. And your friends? Did you write any of your friends back home? Or?
Only once I connected, and I walk around thinking about that, and hoping I'll run into them. But at this point,
Yeah.
I think they're probably all dead.
Oh. So what did you do for recreation when you were off duty?
Well, we had a baseball field. We would play ball.
Oh, okay.
We had a swimming pool.
And
that was
watch
about it.
movies, I guess. Yeah.
The big thing was to go into Seoul. And of course, you go into Seoul and they'd have all these little wagons selling American stuff that was stolen. You could buy back a toothbrush or something.
Oh, wow. How long was the R&R?
Oh, the R&R was, I think, a week.
And how often did you go to Seoul?
Once.
Just
I went to
once?
Tokyo, yeah. I said I wasn't going to go unless I could go to Tokyo.
Oh, you went to Tokyo?
Yeah.
Okay.
The other places were in southern Japan, and for some reason or other, I said, I want to go to Tokyo.
And how was that?
That was an experience. They had a department store that was 6 stories high. Around the outside, it was hollow in the middle. So from every floor, you could look down, and they had television sets all in a 360-degree circle of different things on television, and all the Japanese would be standing down there watching the television.
That's funny. And did you stay on a base when you were there?
No, we stayed at a Japanese hotel that was run by the Americans. I'm trying to think of the designation of them. I didn't want to stay in a place where there was no GIs. So this was run by GIs.
Okay.
And we stayed a couple of days in Tokyo, and then we went up to Fuji-Yoshida, which is Mount Fuji.
Oh, you said that.
And well, I didn't climb it.
No.
Some of the GIs climbed, fell down, and broke their legs.
Oh,
I said, oh, you're going home. The legend was if you climb Mount Fuji, you'll see your ancestors. So the Japs would all climb Mount Fuji to see their ancestors.
Oh, okay.
And then we spent a few days in Tokyo and a few days in Fujiyama, I think it was called. And yeah, I had one of the Koreans gave me a pile of money to buy material for him, and he gave me a little swath of material. So I was in a Japanese department store, and I said, I want this. Here's the money, how much, So I brought the material back to him, gave it to him, he thanked me, gave me a little ring, and he told me they gypped me. Oh, I said, now he's going to think I took half his money.
What was he doing with all that material?
He was probably making clothing and making a fortune on it.
Oh.
Because they had nothing. I don't even think I knew the guy. The only Koreans that I dealt with was one young man in the operating room who was really bright. I had hoped he would go on and become a doctor. He knew every instrument we had in the packs. He could put them together, and he went to the chief nurse of the operating room, and he said he wanted to get rid of his enemies or his friends. They all have worms.
Oh.
And she says, all right, Lee, they'll have to order a stool sample, put a nurse's name on it, because we couldn't do what she was doing. And they come back with all the parasites he had and what they needed to kill them. So she gives him the medicine and says, now Lee, you don't eat any more meals at home. You eat in the hospital all the time. Yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. About 2 weeks later, I walk into the operating room. He's at a big table. He's doing some work, and I put my arm around him. I said, Lee, you've been eating kimchi. He said, I don't like your food. So I said, you know what you have? You're alive.
So they would get it from the local food then?
Yes, well, they fertilize their crops with human waste,
Oh.
and that's why that's why they're all skinny,
Oh, yeah.
because they're feeding a bunch of parasites.
So how was the food on base?
Terrible.
What did you usually eat?
We had fellas coming off the battle lines, complaining about the food. They ate better on the front
Really?
lines.
What was the food like?
It wasn't great. I mean, there was nothing that you said, "Oh boy, we're having this." You know, one time I come into the OR, into the mess hall, and I said, "Oh boy, stateside apples." No, they're from Tegu. Thank you. They claimed that if it grew out of the ground, it was okay, but like a carrot or anything that they had to pull out of the ground was alive.
So where do they get their food from then? They ship it from the States to cook?
I guess so.
Wow.
They would go somewhere with a truck and get all the rations. They had it from the patients, the officers' mess, and the enlisted mess, and they would come back and distribute it.
Okay. So when you lived on base, did you have your own place, or were you with other soldiers?
We were in Quonset huts.
Which is what? What is
It's a barrel, like a barrel roof. From floor to floor, it goes over and down. And they're nice. They had a wood floor. They were heated, and I forget how many that were there, but they were fine.
Okay.
No, I had good conditions there.
That's good. Okay. So do you have anything else to say about your time in Korea at all? Before we go from when you came back home?
Well, the hospital was in these series of buildings that were this big compound, and one day they had us go out behind the hospital and set up in tents, which what we were supposed to be in, but we had a building. So we set up in tents and did a couple of surgeries. Or we took I guess we took a train and took the patients and cared for them and got rid of them, and we rolled it all up and we put it in trucks and we went up somewhere north of Guijambu. I don't know where that is anymore. I never did know, but we set up in the field. At one point they had said you have to get rid of everything you can't carry. Apparently there was a break in the line somewhere, and of course we never realized it or witnessed anything other than doing what we had to do. But we were there for a few days, and then we tore up, put everything down, back in bags, and back we went to the hospital. They didn't take the whole hospital, they just took whoever volunteered, I guess.
So how often would you move, say, in a month?
We only did it once.
Oh, you only did it once, and then you were just in one spot.
Back to the same hospital we were at. The hospital split. Most of them stayed there, and just a small group went ahead to wherever we set up.
Okay, so it's what, I guess they took you to where they had casualties, is that?
I don't know if it was just to keep us in training that we would set up the tents.
Okay.
For instance, the operating room tent had a white liner to it. All the other tents were just regular single layer tents. And I suppose, I don't know, nobody ever said why we were doing it.
Oh, so did you have patients?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that what they said, what they thought was, let's not lose the fact that we have to work out of tents. So we had to know how to set up the tent,
Right.
put the liners up in it, and it was like going out camping.
So you usually volunteered, you volunteered?
I guess I volunteered for it. It was a pleasant experience.
Do you remember the day you were sent home? You went back home?
Well, that was kind of comical. I was told that I was going home, and I went to the chaplain, who was a Catholic priest. At the time I was Catholic, now I'm not. And I said, Father, can you get me on the hospital train with you going back to Busan? He said, sure. So when he did whatever he had to do, so instead of going on a troop train, I was sitting in a car with all officers.
Oh.
Drinking coffee. It was a treat. That was my experience of coming home.
So you went from Korea to where did they fly you to?
We went by ship.
Oh, by ship. Okay.
And we landed in where Alcatraz is. I think that
San Francisco.
San Francisco, because you could see Alcatraz from the boat. And then 3,000 troops landed the same day.
Wow.
And we were in a field with your duffel bag, with all your stuff in it, and your German camera hanging around your neck. And we were standing in the rain, waiting for your number to be called. And one of our fellows had bought a Leica camera, and he slept with it. And he went into the bathroom soaking wet. He says, Marty, watch my bag, okay. He goes into the bathroom, he bends down, he takes his camera, puts it on a shelf. There's a shelf in the bathroom over every sink. He bends down and ties his boot, he was back up, his camera's gone. Oh. He was heartbroken.
Yeah.
That was the one bad experience I witnessed.
So then you came home, and when you came back to New York, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And what did you do when you got home?
Let me back up a little bit.
Okay.
They said, we're going to fly you guys home. And we get on a plane. The stewardess is sitting on the side of a chair with her arm around one of the guys. She must have been the pilot's sister or something. They were hiring these guys that had these, I forget the plane. But we're flying you guys home. Okay, we get on a plane, we take off. And we weren't in the air too long. And we landed in Texas. We weren't supposed to. Having a little trouble with the plane, fellas. We'll get going. Well, that happened twice. It happened going back from R&R, rest and relaxation. We must have went down the runway 5 times.
Oh, man.
The plane would turn around and come back. Finally, one pilot refused to fly it. Another guy volunteered, I'll take it. So we get on the plane, and you're sitting looking across, not going with the plane. And it takes off, and we're flying along, and everybody starts to fall asleep. And all of a sudden, boom, we're in a thunderstorm.
Oh,
Guys were thrown out of these parachute seats onto the floor. Of course, they were all getting religion after that. But we made it back. I don't know I don't think it was anything wrong with the plane.
was this a storm?
It was a storm we hit.
Wow.
And we did the same thing in coming home when we got to California. And got off the ship. They said, we're flying you boys home. And we landed it seemed like every 5 minutes.
Oh, jeez.
And they're having trouble with the plane, fellas. Don't worry, we'll be all right. And I'm saying, if I had enough money, I'd just leave here and take a train home. I said, I'd hate to get killed coming home.
Must have been a long flight coming home. by the
Died
time
in
you got home.
California or died in Chicago.
Oh, jeez. And how were you received by your family and your community?
Oh, very well. Everybody was happy that I made it back.
Yeah.
Most of the people that I knew made it back.
Good. Okay. And how was it to readjust to civilian life? Was it hard?
No.
No? Okay.
I mean, I wasn't in a trench being machine gunned.
Right.
I was in an operating room, and we had stateside conditions, you might say. And it was nice. You did a job.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would hate to be walking around with a rifle guarding a water tower.
Right.
Every day I did something that was interesting. And the mistake I made was not going to school when I got home.
Well, I was going to ask you if you went to use the GI Bill. You didn't use it?
No, not for anything.
You never thought about becoming a doctor?
No. But I have a doctor. My son is a doctor.
Oh, nice.
One of my sons.
Wow. So what did you do? What kind of work did you do when you got home?
I went back into the steam fitting,
Oh, okay.
finished my apprenticeship, and I had a good career. I put 3 kids through college. I wound up with a nurse, a doctor, and an engineer. I did my part.
Mm-hmm. Good job. So you don't reunite at all with veterans? You're not part of a veterans organization?
No. I don't drink, and everywhere I go, they're drinking.
Yeah.
So I don't seem to fit in.
And I guess you don't really want to reminisce that much about.
Well, I did join one of the organizations, and of course I was the old man there. Everybody was young, and
You
I
just
didn't fit in.
Yeah.
So I still belong to it, but I don't go.
Yeah. Did your wartime experiences affect your life at all?
No, I don't think so.
You didn't really. You were the same person that you went when you came out.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you learn any life lessons at all from the military?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Because mostly, I guess you were with the people from New York, so you really didn't get to.
Well, the doctors, the surgeons were from all over. Some from Chicago, some from New York. We had a couple of Southerners, and it was nice working with them because they let you do different things, and the more they got to know you or know your ability, the more you did, which was not much. You clamp bleeders off when they're cutting. You're on one side, he's on the other.
Yeah.
You clamp these bleeders, and he's put retractors in. He'll say, "Here, hold these." And you're holding the person apart while he's doing what he's doing. But it was very interesting, really.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. Did your military service impact your feelings about war or the military in general?
No, I felt we were on the right side,
Okay.
and
Okay. So is there anything you feel that we haven't discussed at all that you wanted to bring up?
I don't know. I don't. Like I said, I was in an operating room every day, and I did my job, and then I went to my barracks.
So it sounded like you had a good experience, even
Oh,
though
it
you
was
were in the war.
it was a very good experience.
Yeah.
I just didn't capitalize on it. That's all. I have no regrets.
That's great. Okay. So I guess we're finished here.
Okay.
So thank you very much for coming back, and I appreciate that. And thank you for all your insight into the military.
One of the things I didn't tell you about was we had an airfield. It was also our baseball field, and the helicopters would come in with wounded, and the little helicopters would come in with a stretcher on each side of it, outside the plane or helicopter, and they would come in, do a 180, and I used to look and say, oh, these poor guys that are laying down there wounded, and this guy is a hot shot.
Wow.
They would come in and do a 180-degree turn and then land. And I tried to get a ride on one. I got close, but never,
Not on the outside, on the inside.
Well, I guess the inside.
You never got a ride on
never
the
got a
helicopter?
ride, no.
Oh.
And they also had the big helicopters come in that would carry, I don't know how many wounded, but the hot shots would come in with 2 guys.
Wow.
I could just imagine them praying.
Yeah, that must have been scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. All right. So that's it?
Okay.
Okay.
Can't tell you anything else.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.